Looks like Christmas came early this year because we've already got some Kaldheim spoiler cards to talk about. Greetings, owners of fine luxury cardboard rectangles. We are here for one of the funnest type of videos where we have brand new cards to talk about, specifically from Kaldheim, and even more specifically from the Kaldheim Commander decks, because Wizards of the Coast has recently decided to essentially release 2 Commander decks with every standard expansion going forwards. And I have to admit, considering I tried out the Zendikar Rising Commander deck that is based around Oban, I swapped out the actual Commander for Hazon. But overall, I played one of these precons and was actually pretty impressed at how fun it was. Now, admittedly, they're not super loaded with a bunch of amazing stuff, and the mana bases are a little, but there's a lot of cool cards in those decks. So, we've got a green-black Commander deck that's coming, and a white-blue Commander deck. We have this confirmed because the cards that we're going to spoil today are actually both of those Commanders, right? So, we've got the heads, the face cards of both of these decks. Now, I do just want to put it out there that these pictures are very, very, very grainy, okay? So this is the world we live in. I don't know how people take pictures like this in this day and age. Like, is somebody holding on to like this like 15-year-old Motorola phone and they just hand it around between them? Like, I heard that you somehow got access to something you shouldn't have access to yet. Well, here's my like 15-year-old phone. Make sure to take a grainy photo from a far distance and upload it. So we're going to be dealing with that, and we're going to basically have it translated from blurries into English. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's put the green-black Elven Commander up on the screen. See what I'm saying? It's a bit blurry. So it's basically kind of best guess for what it says here. You can make out most of what's going on, and then you can logically deduce the rest of the cards. So bear in mind, when we go through what the cards do, put a little asterisk up in the air hovering there saying, contents may vary slightly, but this seems like the bang-on translation. I didn't do this myself. I'm just going to use the translations from the Reddit thread because it's already typed out, and when I read through the card myself, it looks like it matches up. And why do work twice, right? It's right here. So if you're wondering where I got the translation from and you want to see it for yourself, you can head on over to Reddit and check that out, the MTG Reddit, obviously. So we've got the black-green Elf Lord, and that's Laril, Blade of the Elves. So this is 4 mana, specifically 2 green. 1 green, 1 black, and 2 generic mana, or colorless mana if you're old school. I mean, new school, it's like, don't forget all the colorless mana. It's all good. I know, I'm aware. I've been around long enough that I know now. So, the deal with this one is, Laril, I'm not sure 100% on how you pronounce it, but that's what it seems like to me. Laril, all right? So, 2/3 menace. Whenever they deal combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 green elf warrior creature tokens. So that's not too shabby. I mean, obviously, boost up the power, you get to make a bunch of tokens. I like making a bunch of tokens. That's the deck I'm actually currently running in Commander. It's making a whole wad of tokens, and that is an enjoyable experience, right? And I mean, elves are already kind of known for having tons of little token making cards and just sprawling out all over the place, right? You can do some pretty crazy stuff with elves. So this is yet another commander that favors an elven concept, and it's just a cool elf card overall, right? I mean, the ultimate ability on it is where it gets crazy, where it's tap 10, and this is the part where you can't 100% make it out on the card, whether it's 10, but 10 seems like the most likely. So, basically tap Laril, tap 10 untapped elves you control, so 11 elves in total. Each opponent loses 10 life, and you gain 10 life. So having it being 10 elves makes perfect sense. It gives you a goal to build up to with the commander, so when you go in, you're like, okay, let's crank up the number of elves I have. Once I have enough elves, then I can start doing crazy, I guess, like, kind of dark rituals. I don't know exactly what the flavor behind Laril is supposed to be, but when you look at the artwork, there's some crazy magic flowing out of the sword down there into the earth. And whenever I see elves that are green and black, I think of like, okay, is this a corrupted version? Or there's multiple variations you can do. You can go like green black equals just a natural cycle of life and death, with green representing the life part of the cycle, the growth and the renewal, and black equaling the decay and removal and making room for new growth. And they're cyclical, right? There's that concept. Or green black, where the nature is essentially like the pure force of whatever plane it is, and then it's being corrupted by the evil variation of black magic. Because there's a lot of different ways, all right, maybe not a lot, but there's a variety of ways to view the concepts of like different color combinations in terms of flavor. So I'm not sure 100% what's going down with the flavor behind this card. Maybe we'll get like a little blurb giving us more information about this character. I don't know. Either way, seems like a pretty solid card. Like I gotta say, the big tap 10 to do 10 to everybody effect, that feels really good. And the fact that this can just generate tokens by swinging and needs to have multiple creatures block it makes it feel like it's not a terrible card at all, right? Seems like a pretty reasonable commander. It doesn't seem like super insanely amazing, but it's definitely a build a huge elf token squad kind of setup. Now that's the first card we have to talk about. There is the white-blue phantom deck as well, right? So we're going to be dealing with that now. And that card we're looking at is Ranar the Ever Watchful. So this is 1 blue and 1 white and 2 for a legendary spirit warrior. So obviously the warrior creature type is going to be used predominantly, I figure, in Kaldheim, right? It makes sense considering that we've got the whole party vibe mechanic that's transferring over from Zendikar into Standard, and having these warriors works right into that. So, and I mean, it is the commander deck too. So the commander deck isn't required specifically to fit the themes of what's going on in Standard, but it is a nice little tie-in. So Ranar is 4 mana. He is a 2, what is his power and toughness there? 2/3. He is a 2/3. He's got flying and vigilance, not too shabby. The first card, now here's where it gets weird. We've got a new ability showing up, and it looks like when you look at the text, it looks like it's saying foretell, all right? So we'll say what the ability is, and then we'll get around to what foretell might be, because this is a new ability to Magic the Gathering. So if you look at the text on the card, there's really only 2 things it seems like it could be: foretell or forestall. And forestall is a bit of a longer word and kind of feels like it doesn't fit. And on top of that, the name of the deck has premonitions in it, right? So that's to see the future. And that's what foretelling is. So it's almost guaranteed to be foretelling. Foretelling will be the new ability that most likely exists inside of the Kaldheim set regularly, but might somehow just be for the commander deck. I really strongly feel like it's going to be a part of the main set. So you basically, with this creature, it says the first card that you foretell each turn costs, and then this is another place where we have a little bit of blur and ease that we can't figure out, and that's either a snow mana symbol or 0 cost. There's a number of different cards that do that say, okay, instead of paying the normal cost of something, pay 0. Like instead of paying the echo cost of permanents you control, as long as you have out that 1 goblin, then all of a sudden it just changes it to pay 0 instead. So this is an alternate cost basically, where it's going to change the foretell cost of the first card you foretell in a turn to either be free or cost 1 simple snow mana. That seems to be the most likely interpretation of this. So the first card you foretell each turn costs the specified cost to foretell. Whenever you exile 1 or more cards from your hand and or permanents from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So the interesting part about this is obviously you can get some kind of engine going on. If you have any kind of permanent that says exile a creature, that lets you exile a creature, you can just exile a creature and automatically it will make a new 1/1. So right off the bat, it seems like an engine. I mean, I guess if you were playing white, blue, green, you could throw it into a deck and use Food Chain. And I only know that because I threw Food Chain in my Hazon deck, which apparently is a super competitive card, but I had no idea. I just put it in there. My deck's still a pile of jank, so it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But let's stay on track. We're talking about this is now that I'm playing Commander, just going off on the side about that nonsense. So basically with this guy, what's going to happen is he's going to make it cheaper to foretell. Now, foretell basically to me is most likely going to be kind of a twisted version maybe of forecast, where previously the Azorius had an ability where certain cards, when you had it in your hand, you could forecast it. You could essentially go ahead and reveal the card during your upkeep for an effect. So it would say, pay 4 mana during your upkeep, reveal this card, make a 1/1 token. Something like that, right? That's the concept. So this feels like a similar sort of spell concept. Maybe it's going to be something akin to the adventure spells from Throne of Eldraine, where you do something, you use the foretell effect, and then you actually exile the card kind of in a suspended fashion. If you played during the time spiral block, you'd know about the whole suspend, where essentially a spell is over here waiting, and each turn you remove a counter from it until eventually all the counters are removed, and then you actually cast a spell. It's a weird kind of maybe variant of that. So foretelling to me most likely seems like it's going to be when this card's in your hand, if you have foretell, pay the foretell cost, then exile this card, and then you can cast this card from the exiled area the same way that you're able to cast those exiled adventure spells. And when you go to foretell them, you have some kind of effect happening, right? Like whatever it is. It's probably going to feel pretty similar. I don't know how much functionally different it's going to feel. Perhaps foretelling has a small effect, but also a mana reduction. So basically, like, let's say you have a spell that costs 2 green and 2 to cast normally, and then you had a foretell version of it where you were like, I'm going to pay 2 green to foretell this spell, and then it removes the spell from the game over in the exiled like area, right? But it also says you paid the 2 green for the forecast, remove that from the casting cost of the spell, you can cast it later for that reduced amount. So now since you've already prepaid the green, you just have to pay 2 colorless to fulfill the conditions of casting the spell off to the side. Now clearly this is just speculation, but when you look at the fact that Ranar's ability is literally triggered on you exiling cards from your hand as well, like it just feels like why would they not have the forecast? Like, we're gonna make forecast cheaper. Why would exiling in some way has to play into forecasting, or foretelling, I should say, getting the two switched up. Foretelling is the new ability. Forecasting is the previous ability from years ago. So we've got a scenario where it very clearly looks like foretelling is going to be to remove the spell from the game. Maybe it's automatically set up to go off the next turn. Maybe it's a set number of turns, or maybe it's a reduced cost. Play it when you're prepared to. But overall, I like this concept. I like the idea of spirits that can see the future. The Ever Watchful is the perfect name for somebody with flying and vigilance, right? It's like, okay, I see what's going on in all directions. I'm a spirit. You can't fool me. Not only do I see what's going on all around me now, I see the future as well and can predict the future, man. That's always been like a crazy flavor concept to me. The idea of like otherworldly beings that exist, and after transcending the mortal bonds, they gain knowledge of everything. Or maybe not everything, but you know, like depending on what story you're dealing with, the idea that they have all of this additional knowledge, and then the quest to try and get that knowledge from them, because sometimes they're only able to reveal the information cryptically, or they don't have the proper means to communicate, but whatever it is, that's a really flavorful concept. And I know it's blurry, but I dig the artwork concept of Ranar here, where he just looks like a floating big old Viking with this massive beard. I don't know, he looks like an old wise man, but also who's got like a huge halberd or whatever. I guess it's not a halberd because the haft, it's not, I don't know, man. It's not quite long enough, but either way, he just looks crazy for this sort of like battle spirit. I dig it. Either way, that covers the 2 spoilers that I had to talk about today, my friends. I've got a new lore video coming in a couple of days. In the meantime, if you want to check out the most recent one, I'm going to link it here at the end of the video. If you like what I'm doing, like, comment, subscribe, because that's all great for the channel's algorithm. If you share the video around, more people will find it. That's also fantastic. Won't hear me complaining about that. If you love what I'm doing, jump on my Patreon. All the lovely names of people who are scrolling on by. All right? And yeah, that's all I have to say. So, thanks for coming by, my friends. I will see you all next time.